Hey guys, now I know I said I was going to do a Father's Day video back when I did a Mother's Day video, and we're almost a week past Father's Day, but I was home. When I'm home, I don't worry about the videos. That's time I spend with my family because I spend so much time on the road. Part of that thing is being a husband and a father is your family is your first area of ministry. That's your first priority. So I typically don't take time out to sit down and plan out a video when I'm home. I'd much rather spend my time with them, even if it's doing nothing but binge watching a TV show. But just being with them. So now I'm back on the road. Take time to do this video for Father's Day. So dads, we cannot overstate your importance. So if you're a dad, if you're a father, hopefully, ideally, you are a husband, then a father. If you got the cart before the horse and you're a father, then you became a husband, okay. But ideally, you were a husband first, then a father. There's a reason God set that order in place. I know some of you are going to check out. I'm not going to change my tune. I stick with the Bible and the biblical worldview. If you're going to leave, bye. Now look, if you're a single father for whatever reason, this is still going to apply to you. So I want you to just follow me. There's a term used in other parts of the world for what we call farming and ranching. All right. Typically, you hear this in Africa, and I think I remember hearing somebody from Australia using this term. It's called husbandry, and it means the care, cultivation, and breeding of crops and animals, or management and conservation of resources. So think about that. Think about the term husband and husbandry. So the English or the American definition, the Western world definition of husband is the male counterpart in a marriage. Got husband, wife, bride, and groom. Male and female. The husband is the male. The bride is the female. So, think about the significance of husband and husbandry. That is your role as a husband. Care and cultivation. Conservation of resources. As a father, as a dad. Husbandry. It's your role, it's your job, it's your responsibility to provide the direction, to provide the care, the management of your family. And part of that is you give an identity to your wife and kids. You have a very unique spiritual authority given to you as a man that is not given to anybody else. See, God said, let's go all the way back to the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Fast forward a few verses here, and then we get to, and then God created Adam in his image. And then God gave Adam the authority to name every living creature in the Garden of Eden. It says that God brought every living creature to Adam, and Adam named that creature. And from that point forward, that creature took on that name. And it has not changed. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that God revoked that. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that God changed that. As a matter of fact, the authority is so unique that Yahweh gave you one of his identifiers, that of father. So he didn't give women the identifier of a father. He only gave that to men. He gave you the identifier of father. And that's one of his identifying characteristics, identifying names. That carries a lot of responsibility. Like I said, to give an identity, your words and your actions give identity to your spouse and to your kids. And the wrong ones give the wrong identity and sends them down the wrong path trying to find that validation and that identity from the wrong places. See, if you speak the wrong words and give the wrong identity to your daughter, as she gets older, she's going to seek to find that somewhere else. And oftentimes, she finds that with some guy that did not get that validation, that identity either. And that guy, he's looking for a conquest, something to conquer, some challenge to meet, to win, to beat, to validate his manhood. Unfortunately, trying to take advantage of a girl that's got daddy issues is the wrong way to do it. But in their broken mind, in their broken spirit, in the broken emotions, it's a imperfect, devastating set of actions. So you don't build up your son, you don't encourage him and speak truth to him and guide him in the ways of the Lord. And he leaves and he gets older and he seeks that conquest. He goes looking for some girl. That could be your daughter. That next pimply faced boy that your daughter brings home from high school, or the idiot she brings home from college, could be another broken guy. And all he's looking for is a conquest. He's looking for that mountain to climb or that battle to win. And daughters, same thing. But they're looking for validation. And you wonder why a girl will stick around with a guy that's physically abusive, verbally abusive, unfaithful, or just doesn't have time or day for them. And you're like, why do they stay? They stay because they need that validation. They need, even as grossly distorted as their concept of manhood is, and their concept of love, that they need that. That girl needs that. So, I almost stumbled into the masculinity thing. So, a broken male that is after just womanizing, pounding beers, just a drunk, a fighter, abusive, that's not toxic masculinity. See, masculinity is a pure form of manhood that is derived from, you can find those examples all through Scripture. You find them in Adam. You can find it in the way Jesus embraces the church and his actions. You know, what these guys are doing that has been called toxic masculinity is not masculinity at all. It's a bastardization of what manhood should look like. It's just from the enemy. That's all it is. So let's get rid of toxic masculinity. And I know you're thinking to yourself, how are we important when the Mother's Day commercials talk about expensive jewelry and expensive wine and new cars and weekend trips, and for men it's a sale on Bush Light and it's a sale on cargo shorts 2 for $10. How are we important? Look at how we're portrayed in the media. Look how we're portrayed in TV and the movies as the bumbling idiot is always wrong in the commercials. Don't know what we're doing. We're not needed. Guys, that's a lie from the enemy, and it's designed to break down the family unit. See, back when dads were in the home, and before we had this epidemic of broken homes, crime was lower. Violent crime was drastically lower. Gangs were smaller. Drug use was less. Pornography was not near what it is now. Society was better off as a whole. Not perfect. Don't say, oh, slave. Shut up with your stupidness. As a whole, society was better off with 2-parent households. Even as imperfect as people are, they're still better off. You know, so if you don't believe how important you are, Dad, look at it like this. We had a chance to meet a lady that founded and ran a ministry to where they would recover and minister to women that had been sex trafficked. And she was on a plane going on a trip, and there's a guy sitting next to her, obviously wealthy, and they struck up a conversation, and she never told this man what she did in the early stages of the conversation. But she's able to draw out from him what he did. He's very proud of what he built. This guy at this time was the founder and the CEO of Pornhub. Pornhub is, I believe, the largest pornography website in America, if not the world. And he was telling this lady how they pick girls. And he was saying that we train guys, we train young men on how to spot a girl with daddy issues. And we train them how to exploit that. And through that identification and the exploitation, we bring them into the pornography industry. Now, we all know statistics from women that get into porn. It's a very bad life. I don't care what they tell you at the interviews and stuff. Statistics don't lie. Drug addiction, abuse, rape, suicide. Those numbers are extremely high in the pornography industry for women. So, these girls have daddy issues and they become ripe targets for the porn industry. Is that how you want your daughter to go down that road you want your daughter to go down? Do you want her to leave home, go to college, and get suckered into being into the porn industry by some guy that's been trained to identify somebody that has a bad relationship with their dad? Think about it. And you probably watch porn. Statistics say that porn use, even of men in the church, is almost equal to that to men that are not in the church. So next time you sit down on the computer or scroll through your phone to a porn website and you see some woman on there who is being taken advantage of, realize that she's probably being sex trafficked. She's definitely been raped. She's probably on drugs. She's probably in a Great Depression. She's probably contemplating suicide. And what she's doing is she's being an actress so she doesn't get beat by her handlers. That could be your daughter. What do you think? How do you want that to play out? So guys, your role is of extreme importance. It's your guidance, it's your leadership, it's your fathering, it's your sense of adventure. It's the security that you only can provide that helps build a well-rounded child to a well-rounded adult. See, dads bring a sense of adventure and excitement to the family. Dad's the one that throws them in the air. Dad's the one that throws them in the pool. Dad's the one that'll take them places where they get to sign a waiver to do the activity. Like I saw on a t-shirt, I had a phrase that said, if it involves signing a release form, it's probably worth doing. Moms will not take their kids to do something that involves signing a release form. Dads, you will do it, or you'll build it in your backyard to do it with your kids. And it builds a sense of adventure, and it helps build their character, and it helps build that self-esteem and that self-reliance and that confidence in them. So guys, I don't care how much you travel for work. I don't care if your ex has primary custody. I don't care if the relationship is not the best with your kids right now. You can change that. We've never been at a point in time in history where we've had so many avenues through technology to keep in contact, to build relationships. So it's incumbent upon you to saddle up, man up, reach down, grab a hold, act like you've got a pair, and fulfill the role that Yahweh gave you specifically to build your family, to practice that concept of husbandry, to guide and teach truth and wisdom to your children. See, the Lord tells us in Scripture to guide your children the way they should go, and they won't depart from that. It's not 100% guarantee because it's in the book of Proverbs, but that's the way it mostly goes. But if you don't do it, who's going to do it? That Marxist college professor, that atheist at school, at their high school or at their college, that's going to tell them that God doesn't exist, that Yahweh's a joke, that Jesus didn't walk the earth, the one that's going to talk them completely out of their faith. Is that what you're going to let happen? Guys, your impact, it cannot be described. Think about this real quick before I quit. A greeting card company went to a prison, and they worked with the inmates to send cards to their mothers for Mother's Day. Almost every single inmate sent a card. It was such a huge success they went back for Father's Day. Very, 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 very few inmates sent a card to their father because they either did not have a dad or had a bad relationship with their dad. Think about that. The incarceration rates, violent crime rates, homicide rates, drug addiction rates for kids coming out of a fatherless home or a home with a father that was not involved is astronomically higher than those that had a father involved. With that, guys, I challenge you. Be the man you're supposed to be. Be the father, be the husband you need to be.